Hey there, and welcome to this deep dive. You know the one where we go kind of dark, but also fascinating? We're talking about dark psychology, all those manipulative tactics people use, and how to spot them. You guys sent in some seriously interesting articles about this, so get ready to dive in.
It's like peeking behind the curtain of human behavior, right?
Right.
Figuring out why these tactics work is, well, kind of fascinating.
Totally. Okay, so this first article we're looking at just comes right out and says it. Dark psychology is the art of manipulation. Now, gotta say, most people aren't running around trying to manipulate everyone, but it's still good to know how it works, you know?
Absolutely. Like they say, knowledge is power. If you can spot these tactics, you can handle those situations way better.
Exactly. So this article, it dives into this thing called the dark triad, and honestly, it sounds kind of creepy. What's the deal with that, and why should we even care?
The dark triad. It's basically this group of 3 personality traits: narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy. But here's the thing. Just because someone has these traits, it doesn't automatically mean they're some master manipulator. But these tendencies, they're often linked to people who use those dark psychology tactics.
That makes a lot of sense. And this article, it lists a whole bunch of tactics. Some are obvious, like straight up lying. But then there are these sneakier ones, things like love bombing, limiting someone's choices, even playing with words to get their way. Semantic manipulation, they call it. Ever notice how some people twist words to get what they want?
All the time.
Yeah.
It's more common than we realize. Semantic manipulation, it's all about using language to mess with emotions and behavior. Like that friend who says, don't be a chicken instead of maybe that's risky. They use loaded words to push you toward their decision.
Oh, perfect example. Subtle, but it works. It's like they're playing with your emotions without you even realizing it.
Exactly. And that's why it's so important to understand these tactics. When you recognize them, you're less likely to fall for them.
Totally. Okay, so this other article, this one from Psych Central, goes deeper into some seriously manipulative techniques. They talk about paltering, which is like telling half the truth, but leaving out key information.
Being deceptive without actually lying.
Yeah. Like imagine a friend asks if you like their new haircut. Instead of saying, it's not really my style, you say, it's very you. Technically not lying, but you're avoiding the real answer.
Exactly. A classic example of paltering. Creating a certain impression without outright lying.
So sneaky. Okay, so we're building a picture here of what these tactics look like. But before we get too far, how did these things actually work on us? What makes someone vulnerable to this kind of manipulation?
Great question. A lot of these tactics, they exploit our vulnerabilities, those insecurities we all have to some degree, like wanting approval, being scared of rejection, wanting to see ourselves positively.
So they're basically pushing those emotional buttons we all have to get the reaction they want.
Exactly. And they often do it in a way that, at least at first, bypasses our conscious awareness.
Wow, that's actually kind of creepy when you think about it. Like they've studied how to exploit us.
Yeah, it's a little unsettling when you start to see those patterns, But that's why we're doing this right. Awareness is key.
For sure. So knowing that these manipulators, is there even a better word for it, are tapping into our insecurities, how do they actually do it? What's an example of one of these tactics in action?
Let's take love bombing. We touched on it earlier, but it really thrives in situations where we crave connection. New relationships, new friendships, even at work sometimes. It's all about overwhelming someone with attention, praise, affection.
Yeah.
To make them dependent.
So it's not just a romantic relationship thing?
Not at all.
Right.
Think about that coworker who's just overly enthusiastic.
Right.
Always complimenting you, offering to help with everything, even if it's not their job. Always wanting to hang out. At first, it's flattering.
Yeah. Who doesn't like feeling appreciated, right?
Exactly. But real connection, it takes time. Love bombing tries to skip that, tries to manufacture that closeness really fast.
Yeah.
The goal is to bypass actually getting to know someone and just establish this stronghold early on.
So it's like, look at how much I'm doing for you, how much I care, even though you never asked for any of it.
Exactly. They're creating this sense of obligation, and that's a huge red flag with love bombing. Excessive gifts, attention, praise. Especially early on, you got to ask yourself, what's the real motivation here?
That's a good point. How do you even counter that, though? It feels kind of rude to question someone being nice.
Yeah, it can be tough, especially if you're someone who likes to be agreeable. But setting those boundaries early on is so important. Don't be afraid to say no. And remember, you don't have to return gestures that make you feel weird. Trust your gut. If something feels off, it probably is.
Your gut usually knows what's up. Speaking of instincts, let's talk gaslighting. This one really messes with me. because it's about messing with your whole sense of reality. Like that example in the Psych Central article, where the person's manipulating their partner into doubting their own memories.
Gaslighting is so insidious, it makes the victim question their own sanity. It's like this gradual chipping away at their perception of events, their memories, even their own thoughts and feelings.
So it's not just disagreeing with someone, it's actively trying to make them think their version of reality is wrong.
Exactly. It's about controlling the narrative, you know? The manipulator wants to be the only source of truth for the victim. That's how they make them dependent.
That is messed up. How do you even fight back against that? If someone keeps telling you that you're imagining things or misremembering, how can you be sure what's real?
You're right, it's incredibly disorienting. One crucial thing you can do is document everything. Keep a journal, save texts, emails, even voice recordings.
So you've got these records, right? And that helps you remember what really happened when the manipulators tried to twist things.
Exactly. It's like your own paper trail.
Yeah.
And don't forget about getting support from other people. Talk to friends, family, people you trust. Share what's going on and get their perspective. That outside support can really be a lifeline because it reminds you you're not crazy, you're not alone, and your feelings are valid.
It's so important to have those people you can trust, those anchors to reality, especially when someone's messing with your head like that. It's like they try to trap you in this world where you just doubt everything.
You hit the nail on the head. That's the manipulator's goal. Isolate you from support and make you rely only on them. But those outside connections, they give you the strength to break free.
We've talked love bombing and gaslighting.
Yeah.
What other dark psychology tactics are out there?
Let's talk about triangulation. That's when someone brings a third person into a two-person situation to manipulate things.
Ooh, that sounds messy. Example.
Okay, picture this. You've got this coworker, right? And they are always complaining to you about another coworker. Always the victim, right? They're using you as a sounding board, but they're also turning you against the other person without you even realizing it.
Oh yeah, classic office drama, like high school never ended.
Exactly. And that's what the manipulator wants. Drama, discord. They play the victor to get your sympathy while making the other person look bad. It's a triangle, and guess who's stuck in the middle?
So frustrating. How do you even avoid getting pulled into that?
Recognize the pattern. If someone's always complaining, always the victim, that's a red flag. Don't take sides. Instead of offering advice, encourage them to actually talk to the person they have a problem with. Or like a neutral party, their manager, HR, someone like that.
So basically, don't let them use you as a pawn in their game.
Exactly. Stay neutral, stay objective, and don't get sucked into their drama.
This deep dive has been wild. It's like we've got X-ray vision into how these manipulative tactics work.
And that's what we want.
Yeah.
Awareness is key. Once you understand these tactics, it's way harder for someone to use them on you. You see the patterns, you set boundaries, you protect yourself, you take back your power.
Well said. This has been an amazing look into the world of dark psychology. And remember, everyone, knowledge is power, and being able to recognize these tactics is how you protect yourself from them. We've covered a lot, but there's always more